Hi, Jennifer. I'm hoping that this is going to work. I don't know. My phone just said reconnecting. I turned off my Wi-Fi and turned it back on. So hopefully that helps. Hi, Jenny. You know, it's always like when you go live, no problems until you actually go live. And then it's like, yeah. But I think we're okay. Knock on wood over here. How's everybody doing? Make sure we are all connected. All right, can you guys hear me okay? Is the video okay? We are doing all about stencils today. So there's so many things you can do with stencils. Hello, Darlene. And I grabbed a few supplies, a few samples, but honestly, like the sky is the limit, I think. Oh, good. Thanks, Sienna. I think stencils are one of those products that you get a big bang for your buck. You can use them so many different ways. You can incorporate lots of other products. Oh, good, Darlene. Yeah, I love playing with stencils, and there's just so many things that you can do. And I think once you start playing with them, you think about more things you could do, or like, oh, I have that supply, or that thing in my stash that I haven't got out forever. I'm going to pull that paste or whatever out and try it. So if you guys want to play along or try some things afterwards and post them in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group. Hi, Brenda. And just let us know what you tried with your stencils or what you're looking forward to trying. So I've got a few different things out here. I'm going to, rather than explaining them all and then pulling them all back out, I'm going to put a few of these things away and we'll pull each out together so that all of my things are together. Let's see here. We've got stencils that go with foils. We've got fun stencils that you can kind of mix and match together. And then of course inks. And we'll do this one, and then we'll do this one first. Let's see here, we'll grab that. And already I'm like, where is that piece that okay, we need a piece of watercolor paper for this. We need some texture paste. Here we go. All right, we're set for this one. And before I put this away, hi Kit. So what do you guys usually do for with your stencils? Do you find that you gravitate just towards using ink, or do you usually grab a paste? Hello, Shirley. I find if I am not really thinking too hard and just want to try something quick, I grab my ink, maybe Distress ink or oxides, and do that for a background. That's a very quick and easy background. This one we actually did live. You usually use a paste, Darlene. Nice. And there's lots of different options for pastes. I did grab a few. This one we did live with a Lisa Horton stencil. I think this one is still in the store. It's a really cool one. It's a layering stencil, but it's on one stencil sheet. So you actually just turn it and use different portions of it, and then you can create a whole background or part of a background. Jenny uses ink paste or gel press. Nice. And Lisa says her go-to is ink. Nice. I love that you can do something really simple and quick like ink, and it dries quick and you don't have any mess, or you can step it up a notch and add different things. So there's definitely lots of options. This one I did with some of the Lisa Horton inks that look different on, wasn't these inks in particular, but I just have these on my desk. These look different on black and white, and they're kind of shimmery. So if you turn it in the light, you get different shimmers. And then just popped a Doodlebug bits and pieces or chit chat kind of thing on the center, and my card is done. So that was very quick and easy, pretty basic. I did also emboss it because there was a coordinating embossing folder. So, and Jennifer, your go-to is ink as well. Nice. So I think as well, companies are starting to coordinate stamps with their stencils or embossing folders with their stencils. Lisa Horton does a lot of embossing folder and stencil combos, which is nice. You can use them separate or together, but it does give you the option. So this one here is actually using texture paste. And where did I put my texture paste? Here it is. So this is a well-loved old jar of texture paste. I do have a new one, but this still had some life in it, so I figure I may as well use it. And the newer one, the newer jar, looks a little bit different. Hi, Heather. And all I did was take my texture paste, and we're going to put on some paste after, so I won't do this particular one, but you'll see how easy it is to put paste on. All I did was before, a little bit before, like half an hour before I went live, I just used the texture paste. This is the opaque matte, so it's white and it is opaque. So you can get different kinds of texture paste. There's the translucent, and there's the grit paste, and there's one with like sparkle in it, lots of different fun effects that you can get. This is just the, I think, the OG texture paste. So all I did was take a piece of watercolor paper because I knew that I was going to put some watercolor things on the background, and I wanted a little bit thicker paper. Vicki Boutin Foundations paper would also be really great for that. Anything that's a little thicker and can take some water. So spread that over, washed off my stencil, and then set that to dry for 20 minutes, half an hour. So now you can see the raised texture. You could totally leave this like this for a tone-on-tone effect. But we, of course, are going to jazz it up. So these are the Tim Holtz stencils. So when he comes out with them through Stampers Anonymous, you've got the large stencil, but they usually, this is an old one. I don't even know. You can probably, like if it was something you wanted to order, you could ask Sandy if she could order it. But with the stencil releases, this one is in the shop. It's called Berry Leaves. He also brings out a lot of times 3 of the stencils in the larger size. He brings them out in a set in the smaller size. So just to kind of give you a gauge, and the smaller ones are sized down so that they're smaller. So nice options, especially if you find that you usually use smaller stencils or use smaller images. You could grab some of those, or you could grab the larger ones if you liked those, or I guess you could grab both. Hi, Wendy. So these ones here are ones that I actually did. This is a Crafting Kimmy stencil, but it's a star stencil, one she just brought out today. But just to give you an idea of how fun these Lavinia Dinkles powders. So there's various powders that you can get. There's the Nuvo powders, and there's sparkly ones, and they're water reactive. I just can't think of the names of the other ones right now, but lots are in the store. These happen to be the Lavinia powders. They're very concentrated, very pretty, and they're great for lots of different things, watercoloring and doing all kinds of things. So when I'm applying these, if I'm doing this technique, I use a dry paintbrush and I just dip it into the powder. So I've just got a little bit on there. I don't have a ton. And then I like to shake it over top. Oh, the color burst, that's what I was trying to think of. and you really need less than you think you need. So I am just dipping it into the powder, and then to wipe my brush off, I've just got a dry cloth. I'm not wetting this. If I wet it, we're going to have a lot of color. And then I always just put my cover back on. So this happens to be the brown. There's lots of different colors of this in the store. And this one is deep yellow. Again, I'm just putting a little bit on my brush and then just tapping it. Now be aware that, you know, probably you're going to get a little bit of powder around the surface. So, you know, you don't want you to have your other projects super close, but it's not that messy as long as you're conscious. So I'm just adding a little bit of color. You could do one color, or you could do lots of different colors. These are watercolors, so if you added like a whole rainbow of colors, just to be aware the colors are going to mix together, and some, you know, if you mixed yellow and purple, then you're going to get some brown in there, which isn't a bad thing. It's just something to be aware of. Hello, Gwen. All right, so we've got our powder on there. It actually is not, we can barely see it, but there is more than you think. Then we have our spray bottle, and I'm just going to start spraying. And the fun thing about these is that, especially with the darker powders, you can see that they've mixed different colors to make the brown. So I can see lots of reds in here. And you just spray it how much you want. If you want more water and you want a complete watercolor look, then you could spray it more. And if you wanted to leave it so that you've got some of these fun little speckly parts, you can leave it there. I think this looks great. Hi, Janet. So then I would just set this aside to dry. And then once it's dry, it's going to suck all the water in. You could heat dry it, but I think sometimes it's just easier to let it sit and soak in. And then when you come back to it, you've got a piece that's dry. And then what I did with these once it was dry is I took some of the gold lunar paste and I put it on a sponge and just lightly sponged it over the stars so that you could see the glitter or the sparkle on the stars, the shimmer, I guess. Hi, Tamara. And then you have this really fun, these fun backgrounds that you can then, you know, put a sentiment on, put a focal image if you wanted to stamp something, and it's super easy. And when I have a bunch of these backgrounds or any kind of mixed media backgrounds, I actually then, if I haven't used it right away in a project, I will store them by color. So I have a bag like for blue. I'm not super picky, but like if it's mostly blue, then I'm going to put it in the blue bag. And if I'm looking for a color or a background that I want to quickly create, it's so easy to go into that bin and grab the color that I want. All right, so we're going to put this aside. I don't want to get it all over my floor when I move it, so I'm actually going to soak up a little bit of that. If I was just leaving it on my desk, then I would just leave it. But you know what I mean? I don't want to drip it when I'm moving it. And then you do just want to make sure that you give everything a good spray, because if there's any powder that's around, then you want to make sure that you don't have it to get on your hands, but that's pretty much it. Like it's easy to clean. All right, so we'll put that one away. Okay, the next thing is layering stencils. So we will actually do one that's with the spellbinders, but I did want to show you a sample of this. We don't have this in the Scrap Shotz store, but It's something from Altenew, and if you haven't seen Sandy's posts before, she does order from Altenew every once in a while. And so if you have a request, keep your, email her or keep your list. And then when she is going to send in an order, she will just add that to her order, and then you don't have to pay all those customs and duties and all that by ordering direct. You can just order from her and she'll bring that in for you, which is really nice. So there's different layering stencils. This one is actually kind of fun, where you have the vase, you have the leaves in the background. So you can kind of see I did each section. I added some different inks, so you can definitely layer your inks. These were done with some of the either Pink Fresh or Altenew inks. I really like these inks for stenciling. I love that they have the 4-pack that's kind of coordinated, the colors. And so I used that. And then they also included in this one, which I haven't used yet, different vases and then different foliage that you could use with each one. So you could mix and match them or add layers of different stencils. And it's very easy if you have stencils that you want to mask off, just to take some either masking paper or some of the yellow tape or some sticky notes and just mask off the part that you want to mask off. So layering stencils. This one is from these two actually, and I haven't even used them yet, which is terrible. It's from the Advent calendar, and so I pulled them out. The Spellbinders Advent calendar from last year. Now, the new one is going to be actually ordered very soon. I'm going to grab this waffle flower stencil mat, and I'm not worried that my piece of paper is larger than my stencil. So this is from last year's Advent calendar. It has the little numbers. There's lots of images in the Advent calendar that are not, well, most of them. I don't think there was any actually Christmas themed. They were all, I actually have them right here. So that you got lots of dies, like the strawberries and the ice cream, flowers. This is kind of going off topic. We've got little tags, a turtle with a balloon, lots of sentiments, a car, a whale, mushrooms, tons of different products, little mini embossing folders, sequins, stamp sets, and then stencils. So if you're interested in getting the Advent calendar that's coming out for Christmas, you can shoot Sandy an email, sandy@scrapshotz.com, and then she'll add you to the order. They also have the Stitchmas that's going to be pre-ordering, I guess, because they've been so popular. They're getting the retailers to tell them how many they want, so that you can be sure that you do get one. But they won't be shipped until probably like August, and you won't be charged till then. So we're going to put our first layer down. Now this waffle flower mat, has like a little bit of a grip to it. It's like a silicone mat. This is great for stenciling. I use it a lot. You could also use something like the Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station. There's the big one or the small one, and it has the magnets on it and a magnetic ruler, and this is really great as well. So because my paper is a little bigger than my stencil, I'm going to use a little bit of this yellow tape and just tape it down. And I'm not going to worry about going out of the edges. I would probably after take a die and cut this out. So if I was worried about going out of the edges, then I would mask it off. And so if we wanted to do, say, we'll do purples and we'll do like a monochromatic. I think you could do so many things with this, like so many different color combinations. But we'll do the 3 darker colors. And when I'm doing these kind of stencils, I like to use stencil brushes. So I would pull this one out that I already used. It has purple on it. I don't worry about changing brushes for inks. I have one set of brushes for everything. I still use the sponges sometimes, and you'll see that I'll use it here for the paste, the lunar paste and stuff. But I find that with the ink, it just works better for me using these brushes. And I have lots of different kinds. I haven't found that I like one kind over another, but they really do get into the little nooks and crannies of the stencil. I have these. I really have not used them. I really have to play with them. Those are Local King, but I know like Picket Fence has theirs. The Dabbers, I guess. I don't remember what they're called. But I've just it's like never been the perfect stencil, I think, that I thought, oh, I should use that on it. And I guess I should just play with it to figure out how I would use it. So I am just going you can put as much or go as light as you want. So this is just dye ink. Distress ink is dye ink as well. You could use the oxides. They blend really nicely. I'm going to use the same brush. I'm not even going to wipe it off because I'm going from light to dark. So I can take this off. And then we'll go to number 2. So I'm keeping the numbers in the bottom. Sometimes you'll find, depending on the company, like they'll have a number at the top. And if we're not sure where to line this up, an easy way is to put the one that you just did on top. Pouncers, thank you, Janet. And then we're gonna line it up and we're gonna match up the top. And then when we pull it off, we've got this in the right spot, and then you can adjust it a little bit if you need to, but that's an easy way rather than trying to figure out how things go together, especially if they're a little bit more abstract. And with dye ink, you don't have to be in a rush to clean it off. I will make a point of cleaning it before I put it away. Otherwise, you're going to probably get ink on your fingers, but it will always wash off very easily. So then we'll go to the next darkest. And I mean, you could do any kind of color combination. And Pinterest has tons of different color combo ideas. So if you went to Pinterest and you put in like spring color palette, then you would have all kinds of color palettes show up for you with like maybe pink and blues and greens, and you could do that, or you could do fall color palette, or you know, that kind of thing, and get some really interesting combinations for colors that you might not think about trying. But I feel like if I'm stuck, or I just want something to be a little more simple, then I'll do a monochromatic color. So we'll pull that one off. This is looking very cool. And with stenciling, you get that really cool varied look from the edge of the stencil, how it's darker, and then it goes lighter in the center. And then we'll do the same thing, kind of line it up. This is really cute. Actually, I'm glad that I pulled it out. I was just gathering some things to figure out what I was doing, and it fell out of the bin, and I thought, oh, I should try that. And have you guys used the pouncers? I guess we could try them. And then this one is the darkest one, so it's going to be the darker layer with my ink. It doesn't have to be a darker layer. And then after, you'll just clean off your stencils. Now, if you're doing a lot of stenciling with like pastes and anything where you need to clean off, then you can just have, I have those plastic shoe bins, and those are great to put beside your, wherever you're working, and have some soapy water in it, and you just throw them in. Then you don't have to worry about cleaning each time. Oh, that's so pretty. So I'm just going to throw these in that bin, even though they don't need to soak. I don't need to worry about forgetting to clean them. Oh, that's really nice, hey? That's pretty. So that's from the advent calendar for last year. You tried them once, need to go back and relearn. Okay, I don't feel so bad. All right, so that is the Altenew Sugar Plums ink. So that's stenciling with ink, layering stencils. And you can also change colors of ink within each layer as well. You don't have to just do one color of ink. Then we have, so, oh, and what I would do with this before I put it away, I just take it and wipe on a dry cloth, and I just wipe it until the color is pretty much gone. I know that I'm going to use it with purples. I don't have to wash it out. I just, that's all I do. And then I use it for the next time. Which advent calendar? Lori, that was the Spellbinders one from last year. I do not know if there's any available, but the new ones are, I think they're available to order. I know Sandy was taking orders, and I think she has to place her order by next week. So if anybody wants next year's advent calendar, definitely get your order in now, and they won't show up for a while, but just so that your order's in. Okay, so for this one, and you can ask her too, I don't know if she has any left advent calendars from last year. I don't know if there's any around, but check with her for sure. Pre-orders are coming out already. Yes, for that and the Stitchmas and that Weekender. So those should be pretty fun. But even though we're ordering them now, like you don't have to pay for them yet. You pay for them when they start shipping. These ones we actually made, oh, it's coming up a little bit. In the VIP group, we had a crop with Creative Scrapbooker last month. And so we made these in a little demo. We were working with some of it's the Element stencils. So this one is the Festive Art. And these are so cute. So you can do, they're almost like little layering stencils, but they're on one. So you can choose what you want to layer. So this one here, I did the mugs and then the little whipped cream. And we've got the trees and the houses. So there's the tree. And then there's the house, and you could put little windows in it. It's very cute. There's also an everyday one, and I've got to look for that. I just saw that Paula Cheney had used it in her Mr. Rabbit demo or tags, and it looks really cute. So that's an older one. I need to look that up. Who the stencil advent calendar was made by? Oh, the stencil advent calendar. You're not talking about the Spellbinders. The one that I used was from Spellbinders Advent, but the stencil one was Marlene Studio Light, I think it's called, by Marlene. Does that sound right? Is that the one you mean with all of those stencils in the cute little tin? And we can check and see if that's still available if you are looking for that. So I'm going to grab one of these. Let's see here, just to kind of show you. Oh, these ornaments are cute. Okay, let's just, I'm getting off track. Let's do the present. I think this will work for what I'm trying to show you. So I've got the new Distress pencils. So there's set 4, 5, and 6 are the newer ones. Art by Marlene. Okay, yes. Okay, yeah, we can totally check if you want me to check to see if that's still available. Yes, thanks, Jennifer. So these are the new, oh, here we go. I haven't even opened these ones yet. The new Distress watercolor pencils. When the first 3 came out, there's like a whole demo, at least one demo on the Scrap Shotz video page if you're looking for more information. But basically, I'm just kind of showing you how we would use this. So actually what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do the little bow. So what I'm doing is I'm tracing this, but I'm tracing it with a watercolor pencil on watercolor paper. So I know that I want the ribbon to be the thing that's closest to me at the top, and then I'm just roughly coloring it in. This is like going back to kindergarten. And then we could actually, let's dry that first. Afterwards, I will take a cloth and just wipe off, because you can see there's watercolor on that. And depending on, you know, what color you want later, you might not want that there. Hello, Holly. And then I'm just going to take a water brush and I'm simply painting this in. And when you use a water brush, don't squeeze it while you're using it. Otherwise, you've got all kinds of water coming out. You're just using it as if you had a paintbrush in your hand that was dipped in water. The water slowly comes out the bristles, and then it's going to dissolve that watercolor pencil that you put on the paper, but you get this no line coloring look. So you could do this as well with any stencils. You know, floral I think would be really pretty as well. And then we've almost got that little bit of a dark line where we put the pencil down initially. And then all I do to clean off my brush is I just wipe it a couple times and then it's cleaned off. So because I want to do another layer, I want to do the box, then I just want to make sure this is dry, because if I start putting some wet beside the wet, it's just going to blend together. It's not super wet because we didn't put a ton of water on here. So if you set it aside for 5 minutes, it would be fine. But because we're going to do it right away, and then this is our next layer, so we're just lining that up where we want it. And if we were doing ink on this, we would want to mask off the parts that we didn't want to be inky, but we are just doing pencil and we're tracing. And then I can skip the area with that ribbon. So again, I could take this off, but it's actually making me stay in the line, so it's pretty easy. I think kids would love doing this as well. My youngest, Erica, loves doing things with stencils. All right, so then we pull that off. If we wanted to put on those little stars, we could do that with some texture paste, actually. And then we're just coloring it in. and we don't have to worry about, you know, blending it. You're just basically going around the edges and covering it with water. It's super easy. And I didn't color really dark on that background either, so that the pigment blends out and I'm not having a lot of lines in the background. So you do want to use some kind of watercolor or mixed media paper with this, otherwise that pencil would not blend out. So what you're using depends on your paper too. If you're not getting a good result with something, it could just be that you're using a paper that's not really meant for the medium that you're putting on it. There we go. So you just have this fun watercolor look. Watercolor is fun because you don't really have a lot of control over it. You just have to really just let it dry and see how it looks. And so I just wipe that off. Now we can use that top stencil. This could be like, you could use it for little snowflakes. You could use that shape just as a rectangle for anywhere that you wanted to. We could put it over top if we wanted to add something over top. So let's do that. We'll just quickly dry this. When I did these ones, I put a little bit of, I think it was probably the solar paste that I put over top. Yeah, with that one. Let's grab, let's see, what do we have? Here we go. Lots of different pastes and stuff. What will look good? You could try silver. I haven't opened these for a while, so I'm hoping that they're not dry. This is the Nouveau Glimmer Paste. So we're going to grab these snowflakes, and we just want to be careful that the glimmer paste isn't going to go outside of the line. So I usually keep a few pieces of sticky notes handy, and I do reuse them until they don't have any sticky left on them, but there's also masking papers that you can get. And there, we're just going to go like that. So we've got our palette knife, and we're just going to put the paste on the back. These Nouveau Glimmer pastes are really lovely. I don't know if I've stuck the wrong. It's like there's no stickiness. Maybe I ripped off the part that, here, we'll do this. All right, so we've got our paste. I just lightly press it on, and then I turn the palette knife and just scrape any excess off. And I usually try to only put enough paste on that comes to the top of the stencil, just because otherwise it takes longer to dry. And I'm trying to get the cover on there. Okay. So then we would take that off. I'm just going to put this in my water. And then I'll just wipe off this extra glimmer paste. But you could use this with any paste. So here, hi Val. Here's a look at our cute little stencil that we did with the watercolor pencils and the glimmer paste. So I know this one is still in the store. There's also another Elements stencil as well. So that's cute. I find that if you do get a little bit around, because it's a thicker paste, if it hasn't dried, you can kind of just scrape it off. All right, let's move this to the done pile. Now we've got, this is a Vicky Bouton stencil. So she has ones that come in the 3-pack. They're usually priced really well. They're great stencils for using, combining with your scrapbooking or cards. And I also find that she's really great at using her products. So she has a live, I think, every Friday, and she's always using her stuff. So it's works really well to pick that up and then have lots of inspiration. So what I'm doing, or what I'm thinking for this, and I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work, but I thought that I would try it and we'll just see. It might not be perfect, but what I'm gonna do is take an ink. So let's grab some Distress Oxide, because that's really easy. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna grab, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use the lighter blue on the flower, and then I'm going to stamp with the darker one, and we'll just see how it turns out. You know, sometimes it's good to just grab your supplies and try. If it doesn't turn out, it's not a big deal. It's paper, but you might find, I'm just trying to find a sheet. I reorganized in here. I'm trying to find that media grip mat, but I'm not finding it right now, so I'm not gonna look for it. You might find a technique that you really, really love. So I'm going to do the outside of the flowers in the blue. Actually, maybe we'll do a couple different. I don't know, this might kind of evolve, but I think these would look fun almost with some rainbow colors. So why not, right? Let's grab a purple. So I'll grab this shaded lilac. And I still just use my regular brushes. I just wipe them off in between. And just cover what you want. This is such a cute stencil. I think too, sometimes it's almost hard to figure out how we want to use a stencil until you start using it, and then you think, oh, wouldn't this look fun as this kind of a card? Let's do some pink. We'll do the Kitsch Flamingo. Hi, Lorraine. That's no problem. We'll do. So usually if I have the media grip mat, I will actually have that on my desk, and then it just prevents the ink pads from shifting around. And I have a larger one, but I've cut one of them just to fit my ink pads. Okay, let's do this one pink, and then we'll grab one more color. And then hopefully my stamping idea will work. But if not, I think we'll still have a pretty background. Okay, maybe we need I want to do yellow for the insides, and then I could do green, like a nice spring, I'm saying spring green, but I only have a certain colors in front of me. So we'll use the rustic wilderness and just go lightly. And honestly, I don't think there's any colors in the distress line that don't look good together. It seems like no matter what you put them with, they work well. And you can see I didn't even tape down the stencil. The media, the stencil mat just kind of grips it nicely. And I'm holding it lightly, but I'm not having to worry too much about it shifting around. And I'm not worried about masking off either, because I'm okay if something is not perfect. I want to use, okay, I want a yellow. I'm going to grab one of these Alta New yellow, because I have these in front of me, and it's okay to mix and match your inks as well. And these new little blending foam and the blending foam handles are so great for getting into little spaces. So the blending foams were on back order for a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my cloth, and I'm just giving it a light wipe, and that's only because I don't want my yellow blending tool to pick up a bunch of other colors. And then I can just go in the center and do my centers. I think this would be a really cute spring card, like an Easter card. And if you have a nice background that you've stenciled, really all you need to do is grab a sentiment and put your sentiment on there. I think if I wasn't doing this technique, I would probably stop here. But now what I want to do is I want to stamp over top of it. I don't know how much of this stamp is actually going to, I'm going to use the other one, is going to get in here. So it might not be a lot, but we're just going to see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to use this one because this one has the little flowers and stuff that will stamp into it if it works. And the other one was more of the negative space, and I don't think that that would work as well. Let's see, we'll try the chipped sapphire. All right, Wendy, have a great day. Thanks for stopping in. So we're just going to ink our stamp up. I don't have, I'm not doing a stamp press or anything like that. So I know that it's just going to be a lighter impression. I'm just going to cover this. This is one of the Stampers Anonymous Tim Holtz stamps from a little while ago called Tiny Prints. You know, I guess you could spray it if you want to have more of a watercolor look. That I think would look cool as well. We're just going to try it. If it doesn't work, it did not take us too long to do this, and we could do it again. So I'm just going to be careful and set it down, and I'm trying to give it a really good press. That stencil mat does have a little bit of give in it as well. Another nice thing to use is the Alta New stamp wheel because it has that center sticky part, and it's great for stenciling. And you can even buy just the center part. Okay, I'm giving this a good stamp because once I pull it off, that's it. Oh, hi, Irene. How are you doing? You just got home. That's perfect. We're still working on our stencils. Okay, we're going to see. It didn't because, and this is kind of what I was worried about, that this stamp was just too big and too flat. So it really didn't go through, but that's okay. It did go through. You can kind of see what I mean. I think if I had a smaller stamp that I could kind of press into the edges, or if I had, okay, at this point we're just playing. If I had ink on this, but I didn't have the stamp block, that might work better. So if we just did more of a random stamping, we'll see if this works. And that does kind of work in various spots. You're not going to get complete coverage. And we're just kind of making sure it stays in. So I'm thinking that maybe like a script stamp. I'm looking around to see if I have anything near my desk. See, that worked better. So just not having it on. All right, that actually looks okay. And the print is kind of, you know, you wouldn't know if, so that actually is not bad like that. You wouldn't know if it's not perfect because it is such a tiny, small print. So that's actually not bad at all. And that's just Distress Oxide, so that'll just wipe right off. Okay, let's pull this off and then we'll see. Okay, that looks pretty. I'll hold it up for you. Let me take this off. So sometimes you don't know until you actually try it. But that's kind of nice. It adds a little bit of interest into those spots. But yeah, you kind of need to manipulate your stamp or have a smaller one that you can press in. But I am quite pleased with that. And then put your little sentiment on, or if you had, you know, something, a little card you wanted, you're almost making your own pattern paper. All right, so then let's give this a wipe, take these off. I do love my Distress inks and oxides, and I'm a little bit sad that there's no more. I shouldn't actually be sad. I mean, I do have them all, so I can just play with them. But you know, that excitement of seeing what was the next color. Yeah. Okay, let's put that aside. And let's see what I was going to show you. Oh, this is very cool. Okay, so we've got the Deco Foil Duo Gel. And, oops. These have been sitting around since either Carnival or Scrapaganza from last year. And they're completely dry. And so, thanks Irene, this Duo Gel is super cool. If you like foiling, if you like stencils, I cannot recommend this enough. So this is one that I did today, but I'm going to show you how easy it is to do with these ones that have literally been sitting for a year. So it's completely dry. The gel, I mean, you could use it as a resist and then you could spray over that and it would create a resist, but it works, you know, whether you've just put it on or whether you put it away in your drawer for another time when you're ready to add your foil, it works either way. Now I just need a stencil. So let's grab, these are one of those 3 packs again. So sometimes these are nice if you want a little bit smaller scale and you do want all of the stencils that in the release. It gives you a nice selection. So this is transfer Transfer Gel Duo. It works with either pressure or a laminator. You don't have to have a laminator. It is not for hot foiling. It's very smooth and creamy. You can see like it's more liquid than a paste. So you want to grab some on, and you're putting it on just like you would a paste. So anywhere where you have this on is going to be where your foil sticks. So it's a little bit hard to see. Probably doesn't look like anything because it's white. I'll hold it up for you in a second. And I also don't worry, like if everything's completely covered, you can have it like here where not everything was completely covered. And then you just put it back into the jar. Well, this does get a little sticky, so I would just recommend wiping off any excess. And then you would take that off, just peel it off. I'm gonna throw this right into my bin of soapy water. And here's a look. I think I had yellow on the stencil, or on, yeah, I think I had, or I might have had yellow on something, but that's okay. So it was probably on the stencil from something before. The background stamp for reference is, I think you're asking me what it is. It's Tiny Prints. Where did I just put it? Oh, here it is. I think that's what you're asking, Jenny. Tiny Prints, and it comes with both those backgrounds. All right, so then we would set this aside to dry, and you would know that it's dry because it would go completely clear. So have a look at this one, see how this one is completely clear. And this one is more white looking, and it's not supposed to be yellow. That's, I don't know what that was. So this is our one. If we set it aside to dry, and I would let it dry. I think the more dry, the better. If it's not dry, your foil is just not going to stick. So if I was doing a bunch, I would actually do them the day before. But I think if you let it an hour to 2 hours, you could probably get away with it. Referring to your taco post. Oh. Okay, I missed that. Grip it like a taco. Oh, yes. Uh-huh. I see. That is right. Yes, because then you can get the edges or the into the edges of the stencils. Perfect analogy. All right, so we've got this one that's completely dry. Now, even when that one dries, my hands are sticky now. When that one dries, it's going to be a little bit sticky. So if I was putting it away and I knew I wasn't going to do it right away, I would put some wax paper in between, and that's how I had this stored. Parchment paper, wax paper in between, otherwise it would stick to something. But once it's completely dry, it's not sticking to anything. Then you're taking your foil. So there's transfer foil sheets, the deco foil. You're not going to use hot foil because that won't work. This is from ThermoWeb. So you can get the rolls of it, or you can get the sheets. There's lots of different colors in the shop. So I have this rainbow color. I cut it to fit on top. I'm going to run it through my die cut machine. So if you have your laminator out and you wanted to run it through, you could definitely run it through. But this is nice. Okay, we'll use that in a minute. This is nice because you can actually just put it through. You don't have to have any machine. I do like putting a little shim of paper just for a little bit extra pressure, and I'm just going to run this through my Big Shot, not Big Shot, Platinum 6. as I'm stepping on my ink pads. And I'm going to run it through, and then I'm just going to run it back just so I have lots of pressure on that. But it's not super tight. I mean, you're just putting it in as if you would put in something to die cut, your die cut sandwich. All right, so that's just our shim, and now you can see that's actually impressed onto the foil. And when we pull it away, anywhere where we had the gel is going to adhere the foil, and it's so cool. And I mean, there's so many colors of foil, there's so many stencils, you can create anything that you want to. Then if you wanted to use this, you would use and you had a laminator, you would use those toner card fronts or the toner backgrounds that are also put out by Thermoweb. You would put this on it, run it through your laminator, and it would pull any of the extra off, and then you'd have the negative. Lots of cool techniques. Thanks, Kit. So that is the Deco Foil Duo. What else did I pretty much through? Oh, I know what I was going to show you here. Let's move that out of the way. We'll do a quick one with embossing. So Rosie may have covered this last week, but you can also use your stencils to emboss. So here's a look at this cardstock that I embossed. And this is another one of those Vicki Boutin stencils. So what I'm doing is taking the base, I've got a shim of paper that I'm going to actually add just a little bit more pressure. So I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to lay my stencil down, and I'm going to lay the paper that I want to emboss on top. Then this is the universal plate system from Spellbinders, and it comes with this embossing mat. I'm going to lay that on top, and it tells you the exact sandwich right on the base, which is nice. And then I've got this D plate. So those are just going to go through. If you don't have those, you just want to run it through so that with any kind of embossing mat, but just so that it's a nice, like not super tight, but you're going to get the stencil and the paper pressing nicely. All right, so I've ran that through. This is also a quick way just to get some embossed designs on your paper. You could definitely coordinate that with anything. Then you could also take your solar paste, would be really fun. So if I was to take my solar paste and just got a little sponge here, put a little bit of solar paste. There's lots of fun things you can do with solar paste, but I think I need some new sponges. They're starting to lose their Velcro-y ness. Just gonna push it down. So I don't have a whole bunch. I want it mostly just to hit those top ridges. What I could do though, while I'm thinking about it, is I could actually, I don't know if I can do this now that I took it off, but if I matched it up, I think that's pretty matched up. So I could either run it over top and hit the high edges, or match it up and stencil through. So we'll do it both ways. I think if I'm stenciling through, I like to add just a little bit of water and try not to move that, just so it moves over it really smoothly. So then this would ensure that it only got on the raised areas. Now, if we wanted to just rub it over and have more of a, you know, mixed media look, that's pretty, hey? And then you've also got the dimension, or you go and rub over it and it's going to catch those top areas, but it's going to be a much softer look. And both look great. But you will get some on the background, whereas through the stencil, you're going to get it mainly on that area that is raised. So depending on the look that you want. You could also do the background first, then run it through there. And these pastes are really great for covering a background, these opal polishes, and then running them through like with embossing folders, so it would look great with stencils as well. And then you just want to make sure that you're washing out your sponge. Let's see here. Well, this one I was going to show you. A lot of this is Altenew, this one, oh sorry, this is Pink Fresh, and Altenew as well. They have the stamps that coordinate with the stencils, or the hot foil plates that coordinate with the stencils. So here, I think that I embossed this one and then used the layering stencils that coordinate to create this beautiful flower, and then die cut it out. So it's really a great way, especially flowers. I find sometimes I am stuck on, you know, where to exactly color them, how to color them. And I love using stencils for flowers. This one was an older one, and it has the hot foil, which turns out beautiful. I couldn't find anything that I hot foiled with it. I have used it, but I did find some of these that I've stamped and then gone over with the stencils to color them in. So those are really fun as well. You can also use them without the stamps and just have a stenciled look, and it's more of that no line coloring look. And then of course you have pastes. You've got, we'll just kind of start wrapping it up here, but this is Alex Siberia, the Bokeh Balloons stencil. And I did a whole class in the VIP Creative Scrapbooker group with these, but we did layering. They've got some masking stencils on there so you can do your inking. We also did some double stenciling, which I'll show you quickly. This was stenciled with ink, and then we went over it with the solar paste. So you can kind of see in how shimmery those are. And these ones are just layered, they're not masked off, so more of that balloon type look, and that's with dye ink. And in order to have that layered look, what you would do is stencil. So we'll just do that really quick here. We'll do a purple. So we would take our purple. I would probably mask off if I was doing a card front, just to be careful, but you do have a fair amount of space between these, so I guess depending on how you feel. And then you would come in with a darker color, or whatever color you wanted. Let's see if we grab a darker purple, this wilted violet, and then we came in with a stencil that has smaller spaces. If I wanted that flower to be right in the center, then I would keep this stencil underneath and go on top of it. So then we're going to get a double layer of stenciling. We're creating essentially our own layered stencils. And this is where it would be helpful to make sure you have things masked off if you're worried about going out of the lines. And then we would pull that off, and so pretty, right? Like, and such a different look. And you can use, you know, whatever stencils you want, whatever colors you want, and layer them. I know this bokeh balloon is still in the shop. That was one with kind of a more watercolor look, and then that was the layered. And I think that was pretty much it. You can use a jelly plate. Do they have anything else? Oh, I just wanted to show you some different pastes. So you can use the lunar and the solar paste. A lot of times I do use them with the sponge and just go over them over the stencil, but you can definitely use a palette knife and put them on. The glimmer pastes are lovely. This moonstone one is one of my favorites. You can ink underneath and then put it on top, and you have this really lovely glittery effect. But there's lots of colors of the glimmer pastes. There's some lunar paste and some solar paste. And if you're looking to find out the difference from them, we do have some videos on the Scrap Shotz video page, but you could go to Simon Hurley's YouTube channel, and he's fantastic about showing how to use his products. Sizzix, I don't know if this is still in the store. This is a pearlescent medium, and it's really shimmery. You can even use the Nuvo crystal drops. So if I was to take, I would probably use a smaller opening stencil. So just to give you an idea. And we all have these enamel drops, and we probably have lots of them. So I would just squeeze them out or squeeze them onto your palette knife. And you could use the sponge as well. But then you're just taking it and you're just spreading this on. So you're going to get that really glossy finish. Obviously, we'd have to use more than that. And they would dry to just be a shiny, instead of a dot, you're creating a background. So then you would just add as much as you want to do. I mean, I wouldn't do a whole background with this, but if there's little smaller spaces that you wanted to add, and you could mix these things with other things as well. And I feel like I would probably maybe take a sponge and smooth that out too. But that just comes down to, you know, play around with stuff, see what works, what you like. But definitely very, almost like an art print type look, right? So that's cool. And then you've got your sprays, so you can, any kind of oxide spray or ink spray. The Dina Wakley sprays are always fun. You can spray those through your stencils. That's another great way to use them. The opal polishes, they work really well through stencils. And then I'm not going to do it right now, but what I like to do is take my jelly plate, I put some ink on it and brayer it. I layer on the stencil, layer on a paper, and then take another brayer and just push hard, and it picks up that paint that's on the bottom layer through the stencil. So that's another really easy way to use your stencils, and there's lots of jelly plate ideas too for stencils. So that is it for today, but definitely show us in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group what you've been up to and how you like to use your stencils. We would love to see it, love to see your projects and what you're inspired to pull out for sure. So I hope you guys have an amazing week and enjoy your weekend. Thanks, Darlene. Thanks, Janet. And just have fun playing with your stuff. Thanks, Lori. All right, I'll talk to you guys later and have a great day. Thanks, Jenny.